Hello and welcome to our news roundup. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Supreme Head of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense Abdelmajid Tebboune, chaired a periodic cabinet meeting via video conference on Sunday to continue on the proceedings of the last meeting. The agenda included a study and discussion of 3 draft orders, 2 of which were presented by the Minister of Justice. The first relates to the prevention of the neighborhood gangs and combating them, and the second relates to the criminal procedure law by strengthening the specialization of the penal judiciary, amending the provisions related to the privilege of litigation recognized for some categories of high-ranking employees in the state, and introducing new provisions related to the use of video conference in judicial procedures. As for the third project submitted by the Minister of Pharmaceutical Industry, it concerns the amendment and completion of law on health as a continuation of the previous meeting. A presentation by the Minister of Environment was made on the roadmap of reviving and developing the activities of the environment sector within the framework of the new economic and social approach. A draft presidential decree was then presented by the Minister of Finance, and which defines the enabling measures and procedures for concluding public deals within the context of the prevention against the COVID-19. Furthermore, a project was submitted by the Minister of Foreign Affairs for approval of the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Zone signed in Kigali on March 21st, 2018. President Tebboune provided the following directives to the concerned ministers to work on them under the supervision of the Prime Minister. First, on the justice sector, the head of state emphasized on combating the spread of the phenomenon of criminal activity by neighborhood gangs that witnessed a growth in recent years, especially in major cities, due to the weakness of the state authority, which requires an increase in legal deterrence measures to protect citizens and their property from these criminal activities in which corrupt money is used to create confusion and terrorize the population and to promote for drugs. He also stressed on preventing the import, sale, possession and use or the manufacturing of white weapons such as swords and daggers as supplied to neighborhood gangs. Legal measures were used to protect various security agencies in charge of confronting these gangs, and in this regard the President of the Republic ordered the intensification of the work of the national and local committees and the involvement of civil society in fighting this organized crime, for which the proposed prison sentence ranges from 5 years to a life sentence in the event of a murder, in addition to a fine of up to 2 million dinars. The President instructed the Minister of Justice to start preparing a law against kidnapping to protect the security of the citizens and their children. With regard to the amendment of the criminal procedures law, the President noted the measures contained in this bill to increase the cost effectiveness of the criminal judiciary by establishing new financial and economic poles to adapt to the complexities and transformations that have become characteristics of the crime, which requires adapting new means and mechanisms. Second, on the pharmaceutical industry sector, the head of state affirmed that the drug market in Algeria must adapt to the new economic approach aimed at encouraging national production by providing hard currency and taking care of the citizens' health. In this regard, the President ordered the following: the accompanying of Saidal Company in particular to regain its leadership in drug production and restore its previous share of the national market, which was 30% before it fell to 10% due to manipulations in favor of imports. Given priority to raising the national production of pharmaceutical industry and reducing the import bill by $400 million at the end of the current year to give the National Agency for Pharmaceutical Industry prerogatives to control and regulate the market and develop pharmaceutical industry. As regards the environment, President Tebboune required paying more attention to environment and working in coordination with the civil society to restore the aesthetic image of our cities. He underlined the reviving of the Green Belt project as a priority to stop sand advance to the north. He highlighted the necessity for coordinating environmental preservation policies with various international programs, stressing the Algerian role in combating greenhouse gas emissions and adhering to international agreements. Tebboune assigned the Deputy Minister in charge of the desert environment to move to the south to develop an urgent plan to stop the degree of pollution in archaeological and tourism monuments and to improve the sewage water network. The President brought forth the matter of instilling a culture of environment protection in the youngsters, because the challenge today has an educational and civilizational character first and foremost. As for the finance sector, the President stressed that the exceptional situation the country has been going through since last March due to the outbreak of coronavirus imposed on us to develop a special regulatory framework that allows for the adaptation of the rules concerning the programmed operations with this unprecedented situation and the management of dealing with it with a smooth, fast and transparent manner to facilitate the task of public administrations and institutions. Finally, and regarding the free trade zone, and after ratifying the agreement establishing the protocols attached to it in line with the strategic orientation of our foreign policy, the President gave directives to the relevant ministers under the supervision of the Prime Minister to benefit from the free exchange experiences that Algeria has known with other regional groups to ascertain the African authenticity of the goods in the free trade zone, whose integration percentage must not be less than 50%. Before adjourning the session, the President of the Republic gave government's orientations to listen more to citizens' concerns and avoid making reluctant and hasty decisions, especially when the country is on the verge of a new political phase, to lay the foundations for a strong and just state capable of implementing a serious democracy that protects freedoms and rights and is at the service of its citizens.
At the start of the meeting of the Bureau of the Council of the Nation, or Upper House of Parliament, held on Sunday under the chairmanship of Salah Goujil, the acting president, the council expressed dissatisfaction with the decision taken by the President of the Republic related to selecting the symbolic date of November 1st for the organization of the referendum around the constitution of the new republic. Such a project requires the combination of all energies and efforts, as it requires the mobilization of all to make it an important event in our country's history, which will coincide with the inauguration of the Grand Mosque of Algiers, which, according to the Council, symbolizes in the most irrefutable way possible fidelity to the sacrifices of our martyrs and war veterans. The Bureau of the Council of the Nation seized this opportunity to reiterate its total and undeniable support for the process initiated by the head of state related to a profound revision of the Constitution, which is in conformity with the requirements of the new republic. In this regard, the Council welcomes the orientations and the decisions he announced during the meeting held by the government and walis or governors. The National Economic and Social Council, CNES, recently entrusted with the mission of intermediary between economic operators and the government, will submit this week for reports inherent to the current status and the structural revival of the national economy. These reports' objectives and recommendations for a transformation and a structural recovery of the economy will be submitted to the President of the Republic, who exclusively referred to the Council during the period of confinement as specified by the Chairman of the CNES on the national radio. This Council works in the sense that reaching the presidential program's objectives is a priority, in particular compared to the structural transformation, that is to say, more political industry relying on competition. Reports pertain to the National Statistical Information System, to the cooperative system in the agricultural field, to the energy transition, and finally doing business. The latter contains all the obstacles felt by the Council on the business climate in Algeria. Finally, it should be noted that the most important aspect the debate centered on is the economic and social recovery plan based on the nation's social and environmental status.
364 new confirmed cases of coronavirus were registered in Algeria during the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 44,146, while 261 people have recovered and left hospitals, bringing the overall number to 30,978. 10 new deaths were also recorded, bringing the number of mortalities to 1,501. According to the spokesman of the National Commission in charge of monitoring the evolution of the coronavirus pandemic, Professor Jamal Fourar, in his daily briefing. High and intermediate schools have been welcoming candidates for the two final exams, namely the BEM or Intermediate Certificate Exam and Baccalaureate. Therefore, schools are reopening for the benefit of final exam students at the level of the N'Ama province. The reopening was accompanied by a series of rigorous health measures for the good preparation. Many teachers said that all means have been brought together for the success of the revision operation during this period, in particular the establishment of a health protocol during the revision period, which will be followed by a second, more rigorous protocol during the official exams. After a compulsory break in the school season, due to the health crisis that the country is going through, the period of confinement allowed the students of the examination class to prepare themselves in the best physical and moral sanitary conditions, which was made available to them by the public authorities for the smooth running of the exams. The In'amar province authorities ensure the implementation of firm health measures that have been agreed upon through 24 examination centers for students in middle classes and at 22 centers for the baccalaureate candidates.
Muslims all over the world celebrated on Saturday the Ashura Feast, coinciding with the 10th of Muharram, according to the Islamic calendar. This holy day was welcomed with great joy in the province of Janet, the pearl of Tahsili Najar, in the extreme south of the country, a tradition usually celebrated in the presence of foreign tourists who missed this festive atmosphere due to the coronavirus pandemic. This ancestral festival, rich in colors and sounds, became an identity icon for this region. The local inhabitants said that they are promoting for this festival both nationally and internationally. Tourists who attended this festival were mesmerized by Janet's diversity, ranging from colors of the traditional outfits to the music and dance moves. Despite this pandemic, Janet remains faithful to her visitors through the symbolic way of celebrating Ashura Feast that is anchored in the city's history, lost in the mists of time. That was it for our news roundup. Thanks for joining us. Good night.